So my name is Sean Zigah. I am a chemist in the Hazardous Waste and Toxic Reduction program at the Washington State Department of Ecology. One would think that being a chemist means a lot of laboratory bench work, experiments and that sort of thing, but this has been much more so varied than what people would commonly think of as being a traditional chemist. I do a lot of data research. I do a lot of qualitative and quantitative research that involves me sitting at a computer a decent amount of time. I collaborate a lot with various other chemists, toxicologists, and other scientists at my agency, as well as other agencies across the country, to try to identify safer chemistries for consumer products. Sustainability to me is a recognition that there is a finite amount of resources that all of us on the planet, human and biological, have to utilize. And through that, there must be an inherent philosophy of understanding that there are going to be generations of people on the planet that are going to need to utilize some of these resources, and how best can we lay the framework or scaffolding down to be able to sustain and thrive with future generations of people, and also how can we effectively change the way we go about our lives for the most part. I always think of the analogy of the world is a better place when old men plant trees for which they may never see. That is how I feel about sustainability. It's really for the greater good of our current selves, but also our future selves and future generations of people. I definitely didn't always know that I wanted to work in the field of green chemistry. I knew from an early age that I was always interested in helping people, and I wasn't really sure what avenue that would be through. Even as I pursued technical skills as a geoscientist and as a chemist in school, I still didn't really know what I was going to be doing. My desire to always help people would eventually lead me to a field where, with this skill set, I would be able to utilize it to the best of my ability. There is that inherent uncertainty with some of the work that we do, where we're trying a lot of things. We're trying to be pioneers in a lot of spaces, so there is a lot of iterative processes of crashing and burning, trying new things, seeing what works and what doesn't, and I really do enjoy navigating that with my colleagues for the most part, because it really shows me just the extent of the unique philosophies that various people that I work with in this space have, and just how they go about their particular work, and how I can learn a lot from that has been incredible for me. I would say that previous experience as working as a wet lab analytical chemist definitely has been proven very useful for my current position, although it's quite different in the sense of I'm not necessarily following a standard operating procedure for an analytical experiment. It is very important to kind of know some of the fundamental concepts and bases behind, whether it be environmental sampling, environmental testing, or just what sort of chemistries, concentrations we're expecting to be seeing in certain types of media, etc. And just being able to be really good with numbers, being able to make sure that things are being rounded correctly, staying on task. So kind of carrying a little bit of that attitude towards my current work, where I try to follow things in a very systematic and stepwise manner as I would in the lab, and then make sure that I have everything I need to be able to fully complete a project, which is exactly what I would do for an analytical bench experiment. So I think some of those skills do translate very positively to my current role. I have always thought of myself as wanting to be a scientist for a very long time. Ever since I was a young kid, I had dreams of working for NASA and being an astronaut, and most likely never getting to be on a space shuttle, so the alternative would be a scientist at NASA. But I had realized very, very early on that I had a reluctancy, and at the time I wasn't very good at being able to effectively communicate just thoughts I was having, whether that be in school or in front of a large crowd of people in a less so technical setting. I realized at a fairly early age that was something that I struggled with. Through practice and just really putting myself out there and participating in things that gave me chances to kind of sharpen my knife in terms of being able to publicly speak, I found to be very invaluable, because as a scientist, it's really important for me to be able to communicate effectively, particularly when I'm talking about things like toxics and hazards. But even just as a colleague, if I can't communicate a technical issue effectively, or even a less so technical issue personally, it's very challenging to facilitate a very smooth work environment and to be able to do really good work with great people. So I've found that putting oneself out there in regards to just trying to get the ability of being able to speak publicly and being able to communicate effectively and confidently, I think is been very paramount to my ability to continue to do the work that I am hoping to continue to be doing for a really long time. I think that there's a lot of hesitancy, at least on my part at that age, to reach out to people if I was curious, because I just always was worried about kind of looking a little silly. But in actuality, that's the least silly thing one can do, is if you're interested in something, please inquire about that. I think there's a lot of opportunities for people to just gain knowledge just from asking what can come across sometimes as silly questions, but silly questions get people really far, so I would just be as curious as I can be.